Hello everyone, today we're going to be going over how to actually get a win and lose condition depending on if the pieces are placed properly or if they're not. The first step is going to be going back into our frame scene and doing a couple of adjustments. I'm just going to switch my view back to a single viewport. And first of all, some of you might have the wrong type of body. So it should be static body 3D. If you see animatable body 3D here, you can just right click on it, change type, and then if you start typing static, it should come up. And that's the one that we want because we have this collision shape 3D, that's the tri-mesh. That only works properly with the static body as the parent node. All right, so that is all set. Next, I'm going to create something that's going to act as a sensor that's going to let us know when something is actually entered the frame. And then we'll have some scripting to help us control that, giving us our win and our lose condition. So I'm going to actually make a separate scene, so Command N, and I'm going to look for an Area 3D under Other Node. Areas allow you to recognize when something has entered or exited, which is very helpful. Now we have a warning notification. It says it needs to have a collider. So I'm going to add a collision shape 3D. We have another warning because it doesn't have a shape. So new box shape, and I'm just going to change the size here to something pretty specific, and you can certainly experiment with what works well in your case, but I'm going to go with 5.9 for X, 0.2 for Y, and 5.9 again for Z. And so that gives me this large and narrow box. Now I want to take a moment to rename my Area 3D, and I'm going to call this correct target, and I'm just going to save that in my scene directory. All right, so that looks right. I'm just going to go back over to my frame scene, and I'm going to just drag the correct target over there, and I can see where it's been placed. I certainly can experiment with the height, but the size looks like it is okay. I think it's been sized so that it should fit both of the models, but you certainly can adjust it if you need to. So either set, this should work, and again, you can change it if you need to. Now at this point, I'm going to give the frame itself a script. So plus to create the script, and again, I just want to always make sure my scripts are in the script folder. And I think in this case I'll leave the template as the default. Some of it I might use, some of it I might not, and I'm just going to create. All right, now there are a couple of things that I'm going to be doing in this script. First of all, I'm going to be grabbing a couple of variables to get started, and just to save some time, I'm going to copy and paste them over. So at the very top of the script, I have the class. It's extending the static body 3D node so that we have access to everything that's available for that particular node. I have an @onReady variable so that it's making sure that it's done calculating before it's needed. And so I'm calling this piece number. It's going to be returning an integer, and it's going to be accessing the scene tree, getting the node count in the group, and actually I think mine is called pieces, so I'm just going to correct that right there. And so it's just going to be figuring out how many nodes are actually in the pieces group, but by doing it this way, it's automatically going to count. So if I start making other sets of game pieces, it's not going to matter how many puzzle pieces each scene has. It's automatically going to return the correct number. So that's something that's really helpful. The next variable is global, and so this is to represent when the target's been met and the pieces have been placed properly. So again, the type is integer, and we're starting at 0 because at the start the target hasn't been met. All right, and the second variable, or actually third, is to represent the number of pieces that have been placed. And again, that's an integer, and at the start that is 0 because nothing has been placed. All right, next up, I'm going to connect a signal for when the piece has actually been placed. And so this is something that goes inside of that default ready function that runs when the node has been added to the scene tree. So I'm just going to replace pass over here. So I am accessing the global autoload script using the piece placed signal, and I'm connecting that to a function called underscore piece place. Now it's going to complain that I don't actually have that declared, so I'm going to just somewhere down below here add that new function, and it is again just going to be underscore piece placed. And for now, I'm just going to have pass in there, and that'll just silence the warning. Now, I don't think I actually am going to use the process function, so I'm going to delete that. The next thing I'm going to do is work on getting a signal for when the piece actually enters the area. So I need to come over to my target, and when I come over to the nodes to the signal area, you can see that the Area3D specifically has several signals that we can work with. And I specifically am looking for when a body has entered. So if I double click, it's going to let me to connect. I need to check where my script is actually connected and connect. And that creates an empty function that's specifically connected to that Area3D. So I have a couple of empty functions, and I'm going to add a couple of more just to get ready. So I'm going to have a function that is going to check when the level has won. And for now, I'm just going to pass. Okay, and I think that that is it for new functions. So now I'm going to start getting my code actually in place. So inside my first function, so piece placed, I'm going to replace pass. So I'm changing the variable place to number, and I'm adding 1 each time this function runs. So again, when you're using plus equals, it's like saying this variable plus 1 equals whatever number that happens to be. So each time the signal is emitted and connects, it's going to be increasing this variable by 1. And I'm just adding a print statement to let me know how many pieces have been placed, starting with a string, and then printing the variable. Now, if the piece number equals, you need 2 equals there for this to work, the place number variable, so if those 2 variables are the same value, then we're going to check the level 1 function, and that is going to return some information. So next up, I'm just going to add the information for the oncorrect target body entered. And again, I'm just going to replace path. And I have a couple of print signals or print statements. So first I'm printing the current node, body, and then entered. So this is going to let me know what's actually entered the area 3D, and then the target met is going to increase by 1. So again, it's adding 1 each time something enters the area. And I just have a print statement letting me know what the target met variable has changed to. I do want to mention that body entered functions automatically created by connecting the signal have a body parameter, and that is why I can print body over here, because it's a parameter that is available over here. And it's just something that's part of the area 3Ds. They can recognize bodies, which is really helpful. All right, last up, we have the check level 1 function. And we're going to just replace the past statement. All right, so first up, we have await. And so this just makes sure that it is going to wait until this timer that's being created actually runs before running the rest of the script. And the reason that this is necessary was that when I was play testing the game, the part of the function was running before the body entered signal was actually able to emit. So even if you won, it wasn't showing as winning because they were coming in the wrong order. So sometimes you just need to slow things down a little bit to make sure things do go in the right order. And so that is what await is for. So we're awaiting this timer. And so the way you create a timer is just get tree to access the scene tree, create timer, and 1 is just the length of time, so 1 second, and then dot time out for waiting for it to actually time out and stop. So again, I have several print statements just to keep track of what is actually happening. So it is printing what the piece number is with a string, and then the variable represent the actual number of pieces. And if the piece number equals the target met, then it's printing that the level's been won. And at that point, it's going to emit our level 1 signal that we created earlier in the global script. Otherwise, the level hasn't been won yet. The pieces don't match. And so for now, it's just printing level lost, and it's using the global auto load to access the signal for level lost and emitting the signal. So for now, we're just using print statements to recognize that the level's been won or the level's been lost. At some point, we'll actually access these signals to add some UI elements that will let the player actually know without relying on the print statements. So let's see what happens. So Command-R to open the game. I'm on the wrong tab there, so I want to make sure I'm in my game scene. So Command-R, and I'm just going to line up everything really quickly. I could start placing the pieces ahead of time or without having everything lined up, but it's just a quick identifier that I have everything in the right place. So we can see 1 piece has been placed, target has been met for 1, another piece has been placed, target has been met, and the 3rd piece has been placed. It's recognizing that the level's been won. Let's reset, and I placed a piece completely out of the way, 2nd piece in the wrong spot but in the frame, and there we go. Piece number is 3, but the target met has only been for 1 piece, so the level is lost. So because all 3 of the pieces need to fit in the frame, having the target met for all 3 needs to be a requirement. That is really helpful because it doesn't actually matter where the pieces are placed as long as they all fit in, and they only fit if they've been placed properly. All right, so that is it for today.